you're anything like me, for the longest time, Nuln Oil was a good solution to add effortless contrast and shade to your miniatures. After all, for earning the name Liquid Talent, it must be good, right? Is it though? Well, at some point, I realized that wasn't enough for me, and I often wondered there must be a better alternative.
And there is!
This alternative will solve every problem that you might have with Nuln Oil, while also being faster, more efficient, more realistic, and pretty easy to use.
But first let me tell you
why I decided to quit Nuln Oil. I sure can agree that if you sloppily apply Nuln Oil all over your miniature, that will certainly be fast, right? But will it look good? And whilst at the very beginning of your journey, that might be a good compromise to get some contrast on your otherwise flat miniatures. At some point, just looks so you can try to shade the recesses. But then again, it's neither fast nor convenient. The wash is pretty thin, and it'll take multiple layers to cover that recesses like you want it to. Also, this is detail work. It will require more and more of your focus. And even then, you'll have to go back and fix some stuff. And bada 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 bada. What a f***ing nightmare. Or, if you want to apply the wash in a less sloppily way, you kind of have to go slow, guiding the paint in the recesses and yada yada yada. You might need to go back in and fix some of those stains and shit. And that's not that fast now, is it? You know, by using Nuln Oil, you're not just wasting time, you're wasting money as well. Money you could spend on gray plastic. We love that. Don't take that away from us. Let's just take a look at those GW tutorials for a second. Pretty much every time they apply a wash, they go back in, repainting all the areas that they painted with the wash in order to tidy up the staining. And the result is not just a big waste of the very expensive Nuln Oil, but also a big waste of very expensive Citadel paint. I remember this used to confuse me a lot when I was a kid. Like, why? Why apply an all-over wash if you'll have to clean up the whole thing with the base color? You kid me, it didn't make any sense. To adult me, still doesn't make any sense. And also these layers are gonna add up to each other and create texture, pretty much ruining your miniature.
It seems that more recently they tend to recess shade instead, but still they do not use Nuln Oil. They use contrast paint because they know that recess shading with Nuln Oil, it's Still, using contrast paint, it's not very fast nor beginner friendly.
Doing the same thing over and over and over and won't help you improve. And sure, you might not care about that, but still, it's kind of boring. Even if you don't give a shit about improving and you just want to get your damn army painted for the tabletop, you're still missing out on something that would make your life easier and also probably make the whole process a little bit more fun. The medium I'm talking about, it's not a new medium per se, but I'm happy to say it's something that has been more and more discussed the past few years. The historical modelers have been using this for a very long time for their big benefits. I'm talking about oil paints. A quick reminder to subscribe if you like what you see so far. It's totally free and you can always change your mind if I piss you off. Before we deep dive into the amazing benefits of oil paints, let me go over some myths. Myth number 1, they're not suited for beginners. Well, I do agree there is a little bit of a learning curve. I think oil paints can be even easier than acrylics, given the right guidance and practice, which I'm here for. You're welcome. Myth number 2, they take forever to dry. It's undeniable that they do take longer to dry, but also the time frame by which they dry depends on the ratio of mineral spirits to oil paint you have. If you're using a very diluted wash, that's not gonna take long to dry. So this myth, even though it's partially true, it isn't much of a problem. Number 3, they are hazardous and hard to clean. Nope. I think using oil paints is comparable to airbrushing. So you gotta take some precautions like painting in a well-ventilated area, but that's it. As long as you use some odorless mineral spirits and you don't paint like in a very, very small closet, you'll be fine. You should also avoid brush licking. Use the squeezer bottles for your mineral spirits. Use a simple cardboard palette so that the cardboard will absorb excess oil. And finally, these aluminum pots, they're very convenient to mix washes in and they're better than the plastic one. And finally, myth number 4, they cannot be used with acrylics. Oil paint YouTube master Marco Frisoni says that he doesn't varnish, but it did happen to me with some thinner paints like inks that I would rub it off. So I would suggest, if you are in doubt, just varnish. Where are the benefits, Alice? Why should you use them really? Number one, they're very versatile. You can use them thick, you can use them thin as a glaze, you can use them thin with a wash. You can use it with a detail brush to panel line your models. Really many possibilities. Of course, using thicker paint implies higher skills. So I would suggest you start with the washes / glazes and then move on to something else when you feel comfortable. You see, it gives you the possibility of growth, which is a good thing, right? With thin paints, you can do all over washes, or you can use it to shade the recesses by taking advantage of that amazing capillary effect, brought out even more from the gloss varnish. It will define your model in no time. Just place your brush near the recesses and let the oil paint do the work for you. It's that easy. The only thing that you will need to get acquainted with is the dilution. And even if it flows a little bit out, it's no problem at all because it's an easy fix. These paints, also thanks to their drying time, they're very forgiving. You can easily wipe the part that went over the recess with either your finger or a sponge. And finally, probably the greatest benefits of it all, which I still have much to learn on, it's the subtractive approach, which means that instead of applying carefully your shades in the recesses, you can apply an all-over wash and then use a sponge to clean that off. It's pretty fast because you're just slapping it on, gives you the chance to grow because you can have fun with different colors, different undertones. Take a look at what Marco Frisoni does with this method. You can slap on a all-over wash just like you would with your dearest Nuln Oil. Oil washes are much more forgiving and they don't leave that stainy look that Nuln Oil does. Just remember, don't use Q-tip because they're gonna leave strains of hair or things or annoying stuff. Just buy some of these eyeshadow things on Amazon. You can get a bunch of these for a very low price, so much better than cotton buds. But listen, mate, if you don't yet feel comfortable leaving the nest of the acrylics, don't worry. I've got this video here that you can watch. It has another alternative to regular GW washes. Just check it out. Well, yeah.